Thank you, Mark. Okay. You think I like electronics? They're great, but I really like fishing. So now we're going to talk about fishing because there's another set of fish. I mean, how many of you guys down here even have downriggers? Okay, wow, that's way more than I thought. Typically, can you do that again? Raise your hand. You have downriggers. There you go. All right. If you don't, Mark will set you up right after this. All right, so what we found, I've fished Nia Bay for years. I fished West Fork for many years. And now I moved down here. And I'm like, okay, I like the beach thing. I go out there and troll, catch fish. It's fun. We got quite a few already this year. Oh, by the way, if you're doing it right now, we've been catching almost all our kings on these spin fish. Chrome and black. Mark has a whole bunch of them out there, so. Anyway, before we get into the other stuff, but there's a lot of big fish that come down into deep water. All right, a lot of the URBs come out in that deep water. They're coming down, and when I say deep water, it could be anywhere from 250 feet to we were out well over 400 feet last year. And when you find them, that net water, that trail there, they're coming down, that highway, they're coming down the same highway as they come down from Westport, and you get into them. The quality of the fish is much better. The other thing it does for us down here is you're targeting kings, and you're staying off the coho quota until another month, right? So we can all keep fishing for these big kings when they get here. Yes, sir.
When you're fishing that deep, how much weight are you running when you're down?
Well, hang on, I'm going to get to that now. You're jumping ahead. I know you're excited. Well, we're going to get to that. We'll cover that. All right, so this is one from last year. So this is what we go out there and try to target, fish like this. All right, so that's kind of, now what I'm talking about is what happens typically, we see down here is these fish come down. Whoop, what happened here? There we go. Fish come down, here's the Willapa. Here's Westport, here's the Willapa. So the 1-2 line is sitting right about here. When they get to here, a lot of them come down along the beach. A lot of them come down into deeper water, okay? And when I say deeper water again, I'm talking deeper water. So one of the cool things about Ilwaco, which I really like, is when you get up to Westport, to get to deep water, you're looking at running out here, you might be 22 miles just to get out in the salmon grounds. And here in Ilwaco, 12 miles. That's, think about your fuel savings, trying to do that every day. All right, so that's kind of a cool feature. All right, again, another fish from last year. All right, so here's the 1-2 line we were talking about. One of my favorite places to intercept them is anywhere between a canyon and the beach, because that canyon comes in a little shallower. So if I got here, typically they're not going to be out in several thousand feet of water, but they're going to be along this line coming down here. So here's Astoria Canyon. We've caught quite a few of them along right out here in this deeper water edge, all the way up to the 1-2 line in here. Just depends on how far up you want to go, and fish. But all along here, they come down. It seems like they come down right along here, then they turn, come down along here, and then I don't know where they go after that. My guess is maybe out past the CR buoy until they're ready to go into the beach. But, that part of the equation I haven't figured out yet. All right, so what we're seeing already this year is larger fish. So I know there's been a 28, another one over 30 caught up north. So they're coming. Yeah, and I plan to be there, waiting for them. So again, we were talking about the distances. So if they're here, we're fishing basically about 12 miles from this tip of the North Jetty. We're fishing along this edge in here. You can kind of see where our marks are. This is where we're running out. If we're up farther on the 1-2 line up here, we'll fish this edge all the way down in here. It'll be like this, anywhere in here, and we'll pick them up along here. So sometimes I'll go early, and I'll be up here fishing them, and as I follow them down, then they seem like they start, as we get into, about the time buoy 10 opens, they'll be out in here. So I love to call my guide friends when they're fishing and say, I'm going to breakfast, because I already got my kings, I'm done. Yeah, and typically Jerry and I don't target coho this time of year. We're really just targeting kings. Now, if we get one that's bleeding or whatever, obviously we're not going to throw it back. I would say hatchery, but my feeling mostly right now would be, you want to know where to go, I'd be happy to tell you, because I'd rather see you catch a Chinook, keep that keep that coho quota down low, let the charter boys go out and chase them. All right, here's one from the year before. This kind of stuff we're targeting. Again, you can see depth ranges out here. If you see bait there, that's a really good sign that that's going to be the place to be. If you see bait, they're going to hold on that bait. The fish will stay there. They may not bite right that minute, but they'll see. But there's a lot of times that there's nothing, we mark nothing at all, and we're still catching fish because they're coming down that highway. They're still moving. We all know where they all going. They're coming right here, right? So we know they're coming. All we have to do is get our stuff in front of them. We're going to catch it. Again, same kind of thing. Here we up there. You can see there's my waypoints right there. We're fishing there, 234 feet of water. Typically when I show up out here, I'll start here and I'll troll out. If I don't mark them, I'll start trolling back. But in here, this is typically as far up as I go. Westward guys are getting some just up a little farther up in here. But I talk to them quite a bit and I kind of find out what line that they're fishing. Right now, most of them have been out in here. They're fishing in that almost 400 feet of water edge coming down. But you see as it comes down here and you hit that canyon, they're not going to be out there, they're going to be right in here. So that, you know, don't be afraid to go out and fish that edge. Okay, one of the things we've messed with is we knew that there is warm water in that ocean currents coming up off the canyons. Just by accident, we were at a TV show and old Justin decides that he's going to fire down one of these little thermometers. So we're going down and I'm like, pulls it up and he goes, well, it was 58, then it went to cold, cold, cold. He got down the bottom and went back up to like 58 again. I'm like, what? I said, that thing's broke. Yeah, so he gets another one out and he sends it down on the downrigger. We down Banks bottom. Sure enough, there's warm water down there. It must be mixing with the canyon and pushing it up. So what we started, Jerry and I started figuring out is there's a thermocline down there. If we're above that thermocline, we're in the zone, baby. I mean, that's where the fish are going to be. If there's nothing else to go by, you don't see them feeding. So we messed around with one of these fish hawks, and it just measures temperature and the speed, that kind of thing. So you hang it on your downrigger, picks up by another sonar. This is 70 kilohertz, so it doesn't interfere with anything you got. That signal comes up here. It's going to give you your depth. And this is your depth, your speed at the surface, your depth or your temperature at the lure, and your speed at the lure, which is kind of cool. So by finding that out, now all of a sudden we just kept moving it up, the downrigger up, and we know that when we hit that, the water temperature starts to drop. That's usually about where we want to put that gear at, most of the time. Okay, right now, I can tell you that the guys who are catching kings in Westport are getting them between 60 and 100 feet, which is pretty shallow, up 400 feet of water, but that's where they're traveling at. So there's a tip for you. Don't go to the bottom right now. Okay? Knowing your trolling speed of your lure is money. All right, so again, nice quality fish to come out there. You guys have already seen my boat. Okay, I do run some Mercs. Okay, so getting down to something we use here. These are the apps that I use for the most part. So I use Windfinder Pro because I like the fact it's going to give me knots. It's going to tell me what the ocean's at 15 and 14 feet. Of course, I will look at NOAA too, but I like this, looking at that area I'm going to fish. I look a lot at the Astoria buoy if I'm going to be out fishing that deeper water, kind of see what's going out there. I look at windy, see where the wind is at that point, zoom in on it, and then of course Tide Graph Pro because I want to know where my max ebb is going to be, that kind of thing. So if I need to know if I want to be ahead of it in the morning, I'm going to get up early in the dark and leave, or I'm going to sleep in and go to breakfast, or whatever, you know, leave later. Just depends on where it falls. There's always that one day where you're like, dang it, you know, it's too dark to go, you know. Okay, the way we target them is with the Scotty, the 2106s. Work good because you can load them up with a bunch of line, and you want to put some braid on there. It's a good unit. It's powerful enough to bring up, you know, we would typically run 15 or an 18-pound ball. There you go. Okay, and we fill them full of braid. Okay, we don't use wire because we want them to have a lot of line out. You know, there's times when you got to you're thinking about you're in 400 feet of water, you're dropping a 15-pound ball down. You might be putting out dang near 570 feet of line before you get there. Okay, so especially if they're feeding on shrimp and they're down to the bottom, you got to put a lot of line out. So one of the things that you do if you're going to play that game, there's a guy up in Westport named Trevor that makes bill and aluminum spools for the Scotties. Okay, the advantage to that is you can't crack the spool. You think about, you let out 500 feet of braid, and that braid is going to cinch down as you're trolling a 15-pound or 18-pound ball. It'll actually snap the spool. So if you're fishing 100 feet or something, not a big deal. Fishing, you know, that kind of thing, not a big deal. But if you're going to play the deep water game, it's something to look at. That's his info if you need it. Okay. All right. Want a good rod holder? Because, yeah. There you go. Everybody good? All right. Anyway, want a good rod holder because typically you get a downrigger bite. It's going to be like this. You're going to hit one or two. First one's going to be and then a pull. You know, and then it pops up, then it goes back down, hopefully, right? Or you get the ones where it's just going to bury it. You get that fish and you freight trains it. When you're trolling along at 3 miles an hour, pulling this up, that rod tip's going to be in the water. You're going to have all you can do to get that rod on the rod hole. All right, so that's usually the way it works. Okay, again, talking about, we don't do anything fancy, we just run, you know, lead balls down there. Now, we do use a pro release. If I fish it shallow, most of the time I run a Scotty release because they're easy and they work fine. But the pro release allows you to get a lot of hardware down deep and not worry about it popping off. It's because you can adjust the tension on it. So that's a little tensioner knob right here. It's a bail release, so you run, basically you're gonna put, if you got braid on it, you're gonna run 6 to 8 wraps around it. Make sure the last wrap is at the end right here. Because if you go the other way, you just put 6 or 8 half inches in it. And when a fish hits it, he's gonna swim off and flash it. Okay, this is the kind of days I like to go out on, but we all know that ain't reality. Again, decent fish. Rods and reels, I use a moderate action downrigger rod. You can see it's got a lot of bend in it. Okay, I'll either use, you can see this is spooled with 50-pound braid as much as I can get in it. Because if you're getting down that deep, you gotta have something that's gonna hold some line. So it's a 500 size reel. You're gonna load it up with, you know, at least 50-pound braid on it. And then what we do is we tie in a top shot, a 50-pound mono, typically cigar. And we'll do, basically you can do about 8 to 10 feet. The nice thing Jerry really likes about that is that's where he'll make his tie-in to the release clip. So it's on the end of the mono. That way it's gonna always go, okay, pop off. It also allows, typically we're fishing flashers or stuff, it's gonna allow everything to work better because you got that nice stiff leader in there. It's gonna allow all the ball bearing swivels and stuff to work a lot better, so you're gonna get better action off of it. Okay, and again, braided line for the reel for sure. Okay, modern action rod, whatever brand you want to use, but you want a modern action. A high-end graphite rod, not the best thing to use for a downrigger because that downrigger lives its life, or that rod lives its life, the downrigger bent over all day long. You know, and you start putting that kind of tension that's not made for it. But a modern action mooching type rod will work a lot better. Okay? And then we keep, you know, several of them rigged up, so if we have an issue, we grab another one, that kind of thing. And these are just, you know, jigging rods ready to go. All right, so if you're gonna run a 3 setup, typically what we'll do out here, when we're fishing really deep, we just run 2. Yeah, number 2 and number 3 will be off the side, 15-pound balls. If you're gonna run a 3rd one, you wanna go light. You're gonna put a lighter ball on it, like 8-pound, and what you wanna do is put it down first. So that way it will drift out way behind the boat. Get it back there, and it'll be fishing in mid-water, that kind of thing. That's what your depth you're gonna play with. The other 2 will be your deep ones. Okay, that's gonna give you get down where the fish are gonna be. But this can be an issue, you know, when you're fishing 3, it can be an issue. Trying to, depending on how many guys are on the boat, you know, and who's doing what job you got as far as getting to the fish. You know what, the last thing you want is this one out. When one of these goes off, somebody's got to get this one up, like lickety split, get it out of the way so you don't get a tangle up. Alright, so here's a typical setup: downrigger, release clip, flasher, bait, or whatever you're going to use. Alright, kind of how it works. So you're going to have a lot of slack in your line, even with braid. It doesn't go straight down. What happens is it's going to go all the way down. It's going to create a bend in the rod. That line there, because you're trolling along, is going to create that bow in the line. So what happens is when the fish hits, that bow, what you typically see is that downrigger pop off, right? It comes up, and it goes back down again. Okay, and typically it's going to fit. The best thing you can do, the worst thing you can do, I mean, is you run back there, drop your donut, your coffee, you know, and you run over and grab the rod, and pick it up, and pull it out of the rod holder, point it to the back of the boat, and start reeling on it. You just gave even more slack to that fish. So what our guys do is, what we have them do is, when that rod goes off, I have them just reel it in the rod holder. Just reel down on it until you pick up all that bow that you got in there. Get down tension on it nice and tight, and then you can pick it up and play the fish. Because by that time, it's going to be doing this. You know, it's going to be doing the king dance, and you're going to get that fish. You're going to have a lot better chance of hooking it up. Because most of you've seen guys that don't fish a lot. They grab the rod, they got it up in the air, there's all kinds of slack in it. You know, by the time they reel down, you gave that barbless hook way too much chance to fall out of the fish's mouth. You want tension. So reel on it, get tight on it, lift it up, and then start cutting the fish. Okay, especially the deeper you are, the more important it is. All right, well, we've already covered transducers, but when you're playing a deep water game, a 1 kilowatt works a lot better, because you're going to be able to see the fish down there. Okay, so this is kind of what we're looking for. We get out there and we see this down, that's where we're going to get the downrigger ball. The trick going to be, how do I know how deep I am? Okay, so, you know, there's a blowback on those. So you're going to have a blowback on that line because you're trolling and you're trolling that ball. So if I'm doing 3 miles an hour to get to 200 feet, I might be letting out 280, 320 feet to get down there. What you got to kind of know is what your blowback is. And if you're not doing the fish hawk thing, the other way to do it would be go down and hit bottom once and figure out about what the blowback is and then bring it back up. Then you'll kind of know that if I hit bottom and I have to let out this much line, I got to bring it back up. I can kind of give me an area where it's in there. You would be surprised when we started fishing the fish hawk. We kind of got to the point where we were fishing 200 feet. We were surprised how much more line we had to let out to actually see that sensor get to 200 feet. Okay, but we're still catching fish, so it tells you there's a lot of fish around. So. But to dial it in, that makes a difference. Okay, again, another thing we're looking for, we start seeing this kind of stuff out there in the deeper water, we're going to be targeting it, you know. Typically, you might have one rod right in here and the other one down a little bit deeper. Same thing here, get the bait ball on top, targeting these fish. Definitely would target those fish. So, yeah, really. Okay. So you got to keep an eye on your sonar when you're out there. Pay attention to what you're seeing, and then you're going to adjust a lot to where that bait's at. So again, you can see I zoomed in on this. Now I'm starting to see when I zoomed in, it's giving me more of the arches. I'm going to probably aim, you know, somewhere down here with the downrigger and end up in here. So we do that quite a bit, chasing fish. So at least one rod might be at the magic depth where we've been catching them, you know, the day before, that kind of thing. The other one we're using as a chase rod. It's going up and down, up and down. Okay? All right. Again, here, in this case, probably gonna fish one here, might fish one down in here, depending on what we're seeing. Always a good idea when you get a fish on board to clean it and see what they're feeding on. Are they puking shrimp up? Are they full of herring? What are they feeding? Okay, they're full of herring, you know, that kind of thing. I would probably fish a little shallower, and I might be fishing different gear. Okay, so we'll cover some of that next. But again, right here, you're going to be into that area. So this is the kind of stuff I'm trying to give you an idea of what to look for when you're out there. Any of this kind of stuff I'm going to target, you know, and this might be coho. The first time around, I might hit coho, then I'll say I'll have to drop it down a little deeper. Okay. Okay, there you can see the salmon sitting there. another salmon, here's some bait ball. This is real typical of what you see. When I see bait tight like this out there in the deep water, I am not leaving it. I'm gonna keep working that. You know, I may have to turn around and run up and come back down and again, but I can guarantee you there will be a GPS mark on that immediately. And you know, especially if the rod goes off, then we're gonna turn around, we're gonna go right back up and come back on it again. Because the fish are gonna stay with that bait. All right, trolling, so what do these things do for you? These Scotties are great because I can cover a lot of ground. I can get the gear down to the depth that the fish are at, and I can control my speed. So I like to fish fast. So I'm trolling 3 miles an hour most of the time out there until I make sea fish. And then I'm creating noise. Just dragging the downriver ball through the water creates noise, it's gonna attract fish. You put that flasher down in there, it's gonna create a lot more noise. Okay, I can put scent on it. So they come in, the last little thing they get is a little whiff of something good to eat. You know, as typically if you've watched any downrigger films, you've seen they will follow that downrigger for a long time. You'll see salmon following it, you know, and then all of a sudden you turn one way, do a zigzag or something, and it drops, it comes back up, and they go after it. So another tip, don't be afraid to move the boat around, you know. Okay, this is where a lot of us make big mistakes, okay? You tie up a hoochie, and you put it on there, you go down and you fish it, catch fish. Next day, wrap it up, put it back down there, catch a few more fish on it. How many of you guys have fished that? Oh, I got cigar fluorocarbon on it. I got mustad 5/0 hooks on it. I got a rig line hoochie, that thing is money. Pretty soon that hook's gonna get dull. What's the cheapest thing in this operation that we buy? Hooks. Retie it, okay? Because that's the only thing, that's the only one thing between you that's gonna keep that fish on is a sharp hook. So they get dull, just dragging them through the water will dull a hook eventually. You start catching a few fish on it, it's done its job. Measure out what you did, put some new hooks on it. You can put the same hoochie back on again, but you want to keep those hooks sharp. Now what's going on here? There we go. Okay. We always have, if we got extra guests, a lot of times we'll drag a surface rod out there, you know, depending on, I usually like to do something that's quick and easy. So we'll do a dropper just like you fish the beach. I usually won't put a flasher on, I might put a fish flash on it with a spoon behind it, or I'll put a spin fish on it. But what I want is something that I can get out of the water really quick. So I don't put a bait on it. Typically when I'm doing a deep water kingpin, because you're gonna drag the bait off once you got it in the head. So I want something I can reel up really quick, dump that rod out of the way. Because if we get a big fish on, everything comes up. But there's been so many times deep water fishing, one rod goes off, of course Gary grabs it right away. And that's how it works. Then I'm getting the net and stuff down, and I look over and my rod's buried. Well, we have two on. So then, you know, then we're dealing with who's gonna net the fish. There's been times when I've opened the door on the side of the boat, keep one in, and we got the net, got the other one. So I mean, you get a really big fish on, which to me, anything on, you get in a 30-pound class around here, everything's out of the water. Okay, we get everything out of the water, we swing the downriggers in. If we can do it, then I take my time and I'll put the boat in a slow circle and keep that fish in the middle. We work it up again. I have two nets on my boat. One's like a steelhead net for what we're playing with right now. The other one's a big basket net with a big dip on it, because you get one of that lifetime fish shows up this year. I want to make sure we get them. Okay, of course you're going to pick up coho out there on the surface rod particularly. Oh, by the way, that surface rod, when you're fishing that spin fish, there's a lot of times we only put it out 20 feet. We want it in the motor wake. That motor wake, I'll tell you what, a lot of kings come out of that. A lot of kings show up out of that motor wake, and especially early in the morning. Okay, leave plenty of coho out here. That pink and chrome spin fish is going to be money when the big coho starts showing up. Okay, we already talked about, you know, if you're going to play this game, it's just like tuna fishing. You want to make sure your motors are in good shape. You know, if it's not the time to bring it out, it's like the guy that comes out, we've all met that guy. I'm going tuna fishing. Okay. Have you done anything? Have you been out before? No, first trip of the year. Well, brother, hope we see you at the dock later. So make sure your stuff's in good shape, because, you know, it's not unusual for me to run 30 miles if I know there's fish someplace. I mean, I'm going to go with the fish because I love chasing Chinook. Okay, there's a big one. Radar, again, I'm not going to cover too much electronics because we discovered that, but it's kind of nice to be able to mark other boats out there. Again, there are fish in closer, so if you don't want to do it, there are a chance of getting, but these big fish are out there. Probably our number one producer out there has been flasher with the hoochie. So these cuttlefish hoochies, right here, with the ultraviolet, you know, that glow has been money, okay? Put these out with some scent on them, that's been our go-to. We don't fish, we try to keep it very basic when we're fishing that deep, because we don't want anything to release. We want something that's gonna kind of reset itself. So if you're one of the guys that like to use the breakaway flashers with the release on them, hey, those are great, we use them too. We use them on the beach, we use them in the river. I don't use them deep water fishing, because you get one fish that hits it, and pops that thing off, down that flasher's not working, you'll never know it when it's down that deep. So we just run a straight flasher to a hoochie. If we get into an area where we got a lot of fish, we know there's fish in the area, we might pull the hoochies up. At that point, we go to what we plugs. Yeah, they work. Okay. But having that flasher down there with that glow and that, is going to make is fun. This has been the money lure. A lot of your commercial guys fish this too, but it's for us. That purple haze color has been good, really, really good. Okay, if you need to know the number, there it is right there. Or you can just go up to Mark. You got any left up there now? Because I don't know if I took a few. Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever played with putting your flasher directly on the counter?
That's more of a, yeah, you can do that. There's two issues with that. One is when you go, if you get up, if you're fishing cove or something like that, down that deep, you don't really want anything that's going to take a chance of tangling up with another line when you're trying to make a turn. If you're doing like coho and you want to just fish lighter tackle, around here, and a coho is so aggressive that you don't really need to do that. You can just get away with fishing like a spin fish by itself if you wanted to. Yeah, that kind of thing. But the other deal is when you bring it up, what's still in the water? And guarantee you the king will find that flasher and wrap around it and rust off. Somebody always has to remember to bring their flashers. So it's one more step when all the chaos is going on and you're all excited that you got to worry about it. Okay, spoons do work. The kingfishers, we've had really good luck with those. That's another one if you want to try something different. If you notice, Jerry ties up most of our leaders. So he's got this. We typically will use 50-pound test. Basically, because if we're going to release some fish, we get a 15-pound fish and we're looking for bigger fish. Not unusual for us to cut it loose. So we'll bring it up. You can wrap your hand around it and pop them off without breaking it off. And it's fluorocarbon, so they're not going to see it anyway. It's not really a matter, especially down that deep. So Jerry crimps them. Just a little easier to clean if you get into a jellyfish. So it works really well. So I've got both ends crimped to a swivel on the other end and we connect that in. And most of the stuff we tie, when you're tying hoochies, is like at 42 inches. That's pretty standard, but that's what we're running, and that seems to work for us. You may do something different. Hey, if it works for you, go for it. Okay, again, flasher, hoochie. Nice thing about these is you fill that head full of sand. You can also take a chunk of anchovy shell up inside there. Anything gonna work, give some scent on it. So
that's not a 360.
it is not a 360. Yeah, 360s are great for again the beach, fishing the beach, that kind of thing. But when we're out there, we get the ones with no fin on.
Does Mark carry the non-360 flasher?
I don't know, Mark, do you?
Spots and okay, yes.
There you go. So he does.
Not sort of fancy one polite.
I'm going to convert you. I put a lot of lights on my stuff, guys. So you notice there's a stick-on light. You can get the stick-on lights from them and just stick it on the flasher, that kind of thing. So, okay, there's our go-to. What we've been, these two are what we run the most of. Again, that hoochie, the black and chrome spin fish has worked pretty good for us. On the surface rod, like I said, I'll run a spoon, herring 8, something like that on there, from silver cord. Just something easy to get in, get it out of the way. Okay, you never know what you're gonna see out there, you know, so blue water deal. Hopefully most of them are alive. And of course, down here is so much fun because you got an advantage of going tuna fishing. You can do everything in one day. If you wanted to go tuna fishing, come back in, do salmon fishing because you're right almost to the tuna grounds. Go out and get your tuna, come back in, fish for salmon, that kind of thing. We do the bottom fish in the deep water when it's open, halibut. You know, there's guys in the tuna club that have the halibut, tuna, halibut, and salmon all in one day contest. So, kind of fun. Lots of crabbing around here. Good. You know, when we get out there, we're looking for birds, just like anywhere else. But I'm really keying in on that deep water, looking for that deep water bait. But if you're out here on the beach, where we've been finding them lately, birds, pretty good sign. There's that spoon. That's been a good one. Same with those. Spinfish has been money around here for us. I mean, can't tell you, that's probably our go-to. We've been fishing on the beach. It's easy to reset, fill it full of tuna, and start trolling, and away you go. You know, they really rip into it. And they get it. Almost every one of our fish has both hooks in it, so they hit it hard. Okay, that's been our go-to color out here. It's the black and chrome, I'll tell you right now, for kings. And then getting into the plugs, when we get to deep water, we'll switch over. And again, we don't use the small ones, we use the bigger plugs. So that's been a popular one. That we call that one a jambo, but it's purple and white. So that's old Scarface. He comes out every once in a while and gets to go fishing when there's a lot of fish around. So that's kind of a smaller one, but they're, you know, you see them out there. And again, you know, that's another setup. But again, it's a simple rig. It's just that and the flasher, you know, and it seems to work really well for us. So not a lot to it other than just the big game is getting out there and finding them. Put some scent on there, definitely works. Everybody always asks what you use. We probably use 90% bloody tuna. That's probably been our go-to. If they're feeding on, if I have to have 2 cents on the boat, bloody tuna and shrimp. Shrimp, when they're down deep and they're feeding, they're puking shrimp out, filling the head of that squid, or putting some shrimp sand in with the tuna, works. So that's our go-to coho lure. And you know, we don't net coho, by the way. I don't know how you guys do it. We have 50-pound tests on there. We got to pull out their coho season. No fin. Fin release. That way, because if you net them, what happens? They get all wound up in the net, they start bleeding, they die. So, you know, why, you know, let's keep the mortality rate down. All right, fish flash, we just talked about that. It's a good lure for the top. I wouldn't run them deep that much, but the flasher will definitely outfish them when it comes to deep water. But if our typical beach setup, we'll have 2 diving rods down with 16 ounces, pulling those chrome and black. We might put one of these out the back, maybe on a lighter lead, maybe somewhere around 12 ounces. And then we'll go ahead and run, you know, different color spinfish on that one. Once in a while, we'll put a bait on, throw an anchovy on. Okay, since, again, I mentioned bloody tuna has been a go-to for, you know, I don't know why, but it always works. And then you always see the bucket pictures, you know. I don't know, you want to bleed your fish right away, cut both sides of the gill, and we throw them in a bucket full of water for about 10 minutes, let them bleed out, and they go directly on ice. So keep them cold, so they're, you know, good quality fish. Bring it home. If you've never played with this stuff, and you're looking to improve your boat sometime, the sea deck, the new stuff, I wasn't crazy about the old stuff. The old stuff was kind of like these bolsters on here. It's really foamy. The new stuff is what they call an HD. It's really thin. It's got a good grip to it. And what the best thing about it is, it washes. The blood washes it off and easily just hit it with a saltwater hose, it comes right off. So it gives you good traction. You're getting old like me and your knees and you got to crawl around there, boy, it sure feels a lot better than going on non-skid. So, I'm not going to cover that. We're going to do a tournament. I do a tournament down in Mexico. If you guys want some information on that, come see me. It's every October down in Las Brillas. And we do quite a bit of fun stuff. That's what we do in our off season. That's the hotel, dock. We have a shotgun start the first day. Guess I am covering it. But all species of billfish are there when we're there. Black marlin, blue marlin, sailfish, stripers. You know, they're all there. We have a contest, catch and release for the billfish. And there's tuna. Could be good some years. There's always a lot of dorado. So if you want to catch dorado, there's wahoo around. But we do that, and it's 3 days. Then there's prizes at the end. We do a beach fishing competition one day, and provide you with beer and bait, and the biggest fish wins. They catch rooster fish right off the beach. So that's one of the pools. They have a turtle release. Everybody in the family, it's kind of family-oriented event. You know, the deckhands can hook the fish for you. And if you win, you get a trip back. The whole team gets to come back. And get prize money, of course. But it's a good time. We kind of make it like a family kind of deal. So you can go out fishing later, kayaks if you want. There's a lot of restaurants in town to eat at. What the boats look like. We don't have Corona girls anymore. So women kind of put a stop to that. But we do give away some really good prizes. There'll be a Lowrance in it, Scotty Downriggers, all kinds of stuff like that. And we don't bring them to Mexico, we just send them to you when you get home. So there's a Halloween party this year. There'll be a Halloween party again. Everybody likes to do the Halloween party, and they kind of get into it. So they have a contest for whoever wins it. So it's pretty entertaining. Yeah, you know, I had to do it. So that's that. Guys were asking about that code. That's the code for the fishing trip. So if you want to take a picture of that and enter it. Okay, I know there's going to be some questions about deep water fishing. So,
What's your deciding factor once you go out deep?
when do I decide? Well, here's one of my tips. I keep a logbook. Jerry knows. Every day I write down what our numbers are at, what we caught, that kind of thing. So I'm going back and looking. And I just looked the other day, and the 12th of last year of July, I already had a fish that was 26 pounds? 26 pounds? So I'm like, okay, so that kind of drives me. I look at what the guys up north are doing. And so probably this week, we got some flat water coming. I'm probably going to start doing some scouting out in the deep water. Yes, sir.
Pancake weights or with balls?
Balls. You know, pancake weights actually drag more. Yeah, and particularly when you're starting to make a turn, they'll swing out on you, so don't use them. Just lead. You know, even out there, things happen. You get tangled up. You know, you're talking about having that much line out. You accidentally start making too much of a turn or something, you can get the things wound together. You know, it happens.
You made advance this question very good. When you got Scotty released and using braid or your main line, you put a piece of bottom on for your foot?
I always run a top shot, yeah. I may not run like for codfish, I may not run as long a one. Kingfish and I run a little bit longer one because we want, typically where that top shot's gonna end and go into the braid is about the distance behind the boat, which can be 15 feet. We wanna clip it in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that gives you an indicator.
Yeah, and then the other thing we do is, that's a really good question to bring up. This is kind of how we set up our downer. Could I bother you? Yeah. So you're gonna be the fish. So if this is my 15-pound ball on my spreader, I'm gonna come up right about here where it's gonna clip into my downrigger cable, or my braid. This gives me something to grab when I go to get it, particularly this part down here. All right. There's gonna be a swivel on here. That's what's gonna trip the downrigger. So this is gonna always work. Okay, Scotty makes these two already pre-made. But I made this the length from the boom to where the ball's gonna stop in the water. Because I don't want it out of the water, I want it in the water so it's not banging inside the boat. But yeah, foolproof. Every time that thing's gonna come up, I turn it on, I just walk away and leave it. Okay, the only thing I gotta watch is get this out of the water once it comes up and parks itself. The weight's gonna be sitting in the water, this is gonna be hanging in the water. Okay, if you're just doing a reload, you can grab it with your pole with the eyes down up, and then just turn your rod over and slide right down to the end of your hand. If you've got a fish on, and the guy's trying to fight a fish,
Usually we have a stick with a hook on it, we'll just grab it, pull it in the boat, but you want this out of the water, you don't want anything hanging in the water. So this is a pro release, I'm gonna swap with you, these are under. This is a pro release. Okay, when this thing's fishing down here, it's not like this, all right? So we have a lot of line on this for two reasons. One is we tie them about 6 feet. I don't want to lean over the boat to get it. Okay, so if it's down like this long, that's hard to get to. You know, when you're out in the ocean, that's going to be tough to get to. So having it longer is going to make a big difference. The other thing it does is this is going to be not here, but it's going to be back. It's going to fish like this. This has got tension on it because we reel down over the rod, right? So it's actually aimed up. Okay, so it's up above the ball, sitting right here. So when the fish hits it, typically you got this tight net. This is what sets the hook on the down. It doesn't do you any good to pull it out, try to set the hook on it. It doesn't do any good. This is what sets the hook. So your tension here is what's going to set that hook in. So you want this fairly tight for the deep water Chinook fish. And what they'll do is you'll see if you get a big fish, they'll pull it like this. You'll see it move. That's what moves your tip, and then all of a sudden it'll pick it up. I've seen times where those things have hit it so hard, they pick that ball up, and it comes like this, and then it releases and it drops, so you can see the boom go wham. Yeah, and I'm like, that's mine. All right, so that's that. Then the other thing this will do by having it so long like this, if you get a shaker on, it telegraphs better. So you notice this, if you got this long, like the stock ones, it's going to come up. This is not going to be enough movement that deep to notice that you're pulling anything, right? This long, now all of a sudden it's got a lot of room for it to telegraph and that fish moves, and it's going to show up on your rod tip a lot better. Particularly, the other hazard to doing this fishery is you're going to catch a lot of big sea bass, or yellowtail, because you're gonna throw it from your school when this happens, and all of a sudden you'll see it go. And that's about it, and you're dragging that fish. So somebody's job, like Jerry's, is to keep an eye on the rods all the time. If it doesn't look right, or all of a sudden you shouldn't see more weight on it, if your line angle's like this, now all of a sudden it becomes like this, there's something going on, you gotta check it. So if not, every 15 to 20 minutes you wanna bring it up at minimum and look at it, make sure everything's good, maybe review your procure on your bait and way to go.
So to start with, you said that will automatically turn on the Scotty.
Yep.
Flip the switch when
Yeah, it comes up first when it's up, and then this will be hanging in the water. Like I said, typically I reach around Jerry because he's always got the rod and lift it in the boat and get it out of the way. And then the weight being in the water doesn't really bother me. I mean, because you know, you fish enough, you can work a fish around either side of it. It's not a big deal. But if that big one's on there and I look out there and I see the gap between the tail and the top of the fin is like, you know, yay. And you got that big rudder sticking out of the water. I'm like, just a second. Everything's coming out of the water now, so we're gonna get out of the water. Okay. Anybody else? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Beach fishing or river fishing, obviously you're a lead diver. What about divers?
Well, I know that a lot of guys do them. I like lead. I think it drops deeper. You don't have all the pull on it. I mean, I know a lot of guys that use it and catch it, that way. But for me, it's been this setup. It's kind of like the spin fish and then the release on it. So that's kind of the setup we do. In the river when I'm fishing buoy 10, which if you see me fishing buoy 10, which doesn't happen very often, but if you see me fishing buoy 10, it's because I can't get out of the ocean. I mean, literally, that's the only reason you'll ever see me there. My preferred thing is get over the bar and go and be out in the ocean. I don't like doing the whole fishing thing. So when you rig these for you guys, I'm sure you guys know this because most of you can fish down here. You always want to have a leash on the front of it. So we tie some, what is this, 50, 80? Either one. So like 80 feet of leash on it. You don't want to hook directly to the flasher when you're towing the lead. So this would go to a swivel, and then our weight would be up here, okay? We don't run droppers in the ocean, for fishing the beach, we just hook it directly in. If you're in the river, you want to run a dropper because you're going to bounce bottom, that's fine, 12 inches. But it's just one more thing to kind of tangle up, so we don't bother with it. But definitely want a slider on the lead. Anybody else? Okay, well, I will be over. I think we're getting ready to go to lunch. But after lunch, I will be at the Lowrance booth over there where the electronics are. You got a fishing question, that kind of thing. We do have some really good pricing with Englund Marine on bundles, radar and 12-inch, different, and one on lead FS with a radar. It's a pretty good deal. So if you want to come over and look at them, we got questions on the Lowrance itself, how it operates. It'd be pretty easy for me to show you on the screen over there. But with that, I appreciate you guys coming to the seminar. They got some more good stuff coming, and let's go ahead and enjoy lunch. Thank you.
Englund Marine has a whale of a deal for you.